If there's one thing that I know that you hate, it's not war, it's not genocide, it's hipsters. But what is it about hipsters that people hate so much? Is it their lumberjack clothing or their ironic beards? No. Hating hipsters makes your life easier. The word hip, as in cool, has been around for a couple centuries now, since the early 1900s. In the 1930s, 1940s jazz scene, hip started to merge with hep and hipster, initially with a positive connotation. But in the late 40s, the term hipster started to gain more of a negative connotation, usually to mean a pretentious poet or a pretentious artist. Starting in the 90s, hipster re-emerged and began to be broadly applied to anything that was sort of indie or alternative. So how is the term applied today? Being labeled a hipster really comes down to two areas: how you dress and how you think. If a person puts any thought into their clothing, that is, they shop at a mainstream store that happens to sell hipstery type clothes, then they're labeled a hipster, whether they intended to be labeled that or not. On the other side, if someone speaks intellectually about media, whether it's books, movies, or television, they're sort of labeled a hipster. They seem pretentious. While the term might have been useful in the 1930s, 1940s jazz scene as a way to identify someone as knowledgeable or cool in relation to jazz, now the term is so broadly defined or broadly applied to anyone who you don't like that it doesn't mean anything anymore. So basically, we humans have this nasty habit of wanting to categorize people. We distill them down until they're simple forms, into simple words. We want to put them in a box. We're too busy to sit around and think about people and understand them as people. Like George Clooney in Up in the Air said,
"I'm like my mother, I stereotype. It's faster."
But for hipsters, I think that anger comes from somewhere else. It's not just wanting to categorize people. You don't hate hipsters, you hate pretentious snobs. And these pretentious snobs just happen to be dressed like lumberjacks. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter. I'll put a link up here. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll try and have another video out next week. But until then, I have a bunch of videos on this channel that you can watch. I hope you enjoy this as well. And I'll be back next week. Thanks.